How's everybody doing? So we still have bear stance. We'll see how long that lasts throughout the season. How are the plans coming along? Anyone start the beginnings of, have started something? Okay. I was thinking maybe next week I'll make an announcement on Blackboard that we can have each individual group come up here and talk a little bit about developments in their plans. All right, so we'll kind of make that a weekly thing, starting next week. Whatever kind of information, insight about maybe a strategy that you're looking into, some sort of objectives you want to do for Sergio, for Johnny's. Funny enough, I went to Johnny's last night. I actually got Johnny's in my bag. I'm gonna have that for lunch. It was packed, so I'm like, they're doing good. Johnny's is doing real good. Were you able to get any revenue information?
Not yet, no.
Okay. There's another, I teach marketing management today as well too, on the same days. And they're doing Johnny's too. They spoke with the owner. So originally it's the, I think the dad and now the son or the son-in-law. Yeah, the son-in-law runs it, but yeah, they were able to get some revenue. Yeah. Yeah. According to what he told them, right? It's cash on it. So I'm pretty sure you can get that information too. All right, and over here, how's it going with Sergio's? Have you stopped by Sergio's yet?
Not yet, we're planning, I know Elias has been in contact with Sergio, but we're planning on setting a date where the three of us can go and like, either talk to him and just maybe like try out his food.
Yeah, yeah, one thing you think of, you're kind of doing some sort of research first. I would recommend kind of going in as a mystery shopper, right? And then, it could be the same day, right? You have to eat. So that you, as a consumer, going to purchase something, can know from beginning to end, what are the values here, right? What's the benefits of going to Sergio's, right? And really think conceptually, like, hey, the layout, the entrance, the exit, the interior, like really notate and sit around maybe at the table and talk about it amongst each other, right? Because say, hey, with advertising, if we have designated a budget, we have to think of every little nuance and details about a product, a service, a restaurant, right? So really try to think, what do consumers experience by going to Sergio's? Really analyze the menu, customer service, the checkout, the lines, all of that. Right? So you kind of have a real in-depth sort of process. You're saying you're thinking about going there when?
We're still setting a
A
date.
day. Okay. Yeah, let me know. Let me know when you go. Come share it with us. And of course, you go to China. Anyone in the group never been to China?
I think they both said like once.
Okay. Yeah, maybe at some point, maybe they can go as well too, if you could go as a group. All right, best go as a group, because 3 people can have 3 separate experiences. You're all different, right? In some ways, so you can kind of mash up 3 categories of consumers. Hey, what did you notice? Right? I don't know. What did you dislike? Right? Yeah, last night, so even with Johnny's, well, they don't have spoons. Right? It's not like a place where you could just grab like a knife, a spoon, plastic, and it was like, I get it, you guys are quick, but I'm like, you gave me Italian ice, and it's like falling over. Like scoop out the top, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna make a mess. So something just as small as that, that could change your experience, because it's something I remember. So obviously it matters. Okay, getting back into marketing research. In market research, we're trying to find out relevant information about experiences, about products, about services, about advertisement. Before we release an ad, how do people feel about it? questions we ask are very direct or indirect. Are we giving people an option just between two choices on a survey, more choices? You know, it's all about starting first with, hey, what is your objective, right? Everything surrounds your research question or questions. What is the goal of any kind of research? And you will do some sort of research for this project, right? Whether it's just, I don't know, surveys, you know, that'd be valid, you know? And you don't have to do much. You're like, yeah, I asked 5 different types of people. And then think like, hey, I asked 5 people. You're like, oh, they were all women. Okay. Sounds a little biased. Well, not even biased, it sounds skewed, right? Like, hey, I don't know what to do with that. One shot at John's, right? So we gotta think ahead of type of people we ask, their sample size. Is it cohesive to a larger population, right? All right, so where do we leave off at? And I'll just breeze through these. Needs and segments, right? What are the needs, what are segments? Remember we say, hey, we have to classify different types of customers, that's how we segment with different products. Information for new products, right? So we use research for new products. Will this product be successful based on the opinions, perspectives of people, potential customers, old customers, customers who never came back, right? Assess effectiveness of promotional activities. Like, hey, we have a promotion, great, how effective is it? Like, well, we sold X amount of such and such. I don't know if that tells the full story. That tells part of the story. But, right, so you want to kind of have some research to show effectiveness of promotion. Hey, 10% off. Did that work or not? Did 10% off work? Did buy one, get one free work? Right? Did any of that stuff work? If not, you wasted money. Now, once again, you're failing business. Use the gathering 3 R's, recruit, retain, regain. Remember we say 3 types of customers, people we're trying to get for the first time, come check out our store, check out our product, buy what I'm selling, you know, and then we say retain, the 20/80, right? The 20/80, hey, 20% of the people that purchase here give us 80% of our revenue, right? We want to keep these people, retain them, and then regain. Hey, there's some people that used to buy this stock, they found better alternatives, competitors that have cheaper prices, better quality. We need to get them back. How do we fish them back, right? And then we say, hey, it reveals how consumers view products. We're talking about perspectives, opinions, right? Gives us insight. How do you view the competition? And we could be asking questions like, yeah, I don't care about everybody else. I just care about this one competitor, right? This one competitor is local, is close. I care about them. I don't care about everybody else. So let me ask questions directly about what do you like about a competitor, right? Match that against what you like about us, what you dislike about us, what you dislike about a competitor, right? Insightful information, right? That can help us gain more business. And it shows what brand or company image would be most credible. When we say, hey, this is advertising and marketing is very psychological. You're asking about perspectives and concepts. Concept is just an idea or notion. And when you think of a brand, there's an idea in your head in some way, like Gucci, luxury. Yeah, right? That's it. Right? All the other stuff talk about later, but you like Coca-Cola. No questions asked. You know you're gonna get a taste of it. It's just a matter of being a movie for it, right? But there's no question about Coca-Cola. McDonald's, right? Yeah, whatever you call it, food, garbage, fake, whatever, it's still gonna go there. Quick, and there'll be a situation where you need it. It's just quick to do something. And we say, hey, messaging, right? This is most important. These are communications. What shows the greatest appeal, right? What shows the greatest appeal? All right, I think we went through these, Nielsen, pre-testing, post-testing. Remember we said pre-testing is, hey, we're coming out with an ad before we shoot it off. and whatever kind of medium or channel we're gonna use, we gotta ask people what they think about it. Make sure that it's gonna be as effective as we think. Well, you like, it's controversial because like, could be a waste of money. Like, just release it, you're gonna have to see what happens. Someone may be biased about it, right, because they like the brand, sure, yeah, this looks great, wonderful. You release a complete failure because, you know, people couldn't predict the future, right? You couldn't predict the future, how others would feel about it. And then post testing, say, hey, we evaluate, how effective, right? How effective was the campaign? What do you think about it? Focus group, surveys, et cetera, et cetera. And so we talked about media classes, subclasses, vehicle units, right? So just keep in mind, right, if we're talking advertising, this is pretty much the synopsis. Like, hey, what kind of class, right? What kind of media class? Is it print? Hey, what kind of advertising? Oh, I'm doing print ads. I'm doing electronic ads. Digital interactive. I'm doing direct mail out of home. So this could kind of sum up all your categories whenever someone has a conversation with you, like, hey, I'm gonna do a promotion, do some advertising. And they're like, oh, what media are you going to use? What class? Like, oh, I'm gonna put it in the newspaper, right? Okay, well, what's the vehicle of the newspaper? The New York Times. Oh, what unit? I'm only buying half of the page. Oh, okay, sounds good. What's it gonna cost? Good way to sum it up, right? Like, hey, I'm using the vehicle of New York Times, which is a newspaper, and I'm only taking out half of a page ad, or a full page. Right? Someone comes, have a conversation with you, like, hey, what kind of advertising done? I'm doing electronic. Oh, what kind of subclass? Radio, I'm promoting it on radio, television. Which vehicle, right? Which radio station? KNX AM. Cool, right? Or I'm gonna put it on Wheel of Fortune, right? Then show the commercial. And then media unit. You say 30-second spot, right? 15-second spot commercial, right? Think of Super Bowl. Right, whoa, what are they charging to be on the Super Bowl for a 30-second spot, right? Digital interactive, right? So the interactive digital format will be internet itself, social media, smartphone, right? Anything where people have to touch, to click on, use your fingers and your thumbs. Hey, what's the vehicle? Apple app, promote on one of the apps, and promote on the website, email, or Facebook. Right, what's the unit? I'm just gonna do a banner, a little banner on top of the game when I'm playing the game. A little banner on Facebook, right? A little digital video on TikTok. Like I said, like an app game. Right? You're like, oh, that's cheap on the app game. I'm gonna put it on. I always play solitaire or something like that. And then you say direct mail, right? Send it in the mail. You're sending people catalogs. Right, sending people brochures, right, such as what vehicle lands in, right, you might have it promoted in there. And you're like, well, how big is the media unit? Like, I got my whole 16-page brochure synopsis. The fall clothing line for H&M, 16 pages, right? Ralph Lauren polo, some restaurant, right? And then you say out of home. Out of home is like, hey, you go outside, you catch the bus or the train, boom, right? Billboards, bus station, subway station. And what are the units? I'm just using a poster panel or an inside cover. I'm using a panel, you're looking at a little thing you can pick up out, like a little plastic container, pick and pick with you, read, things like that, right? So keep this in mind as you move forward. Units, which vehicle? Which subclass, and which class itself. These are not too hard to remember. All right, and simply, I think we went through this too, so let's go through it. Hey, I have a problem and I have a situation. Situation is like we're failing in sales and I think we need to develop a new product. Should we develop a product? What kind of product? Have an idea for a product, I don't know that it'll work. There's some kind of problem, some kind of situation. Johnny should say, maximum capacity for specific location. Either the problem is, they have another one I know out there, Arlington Heights or something. Be like, hey, Johnny's works here. Is it the issue, the location, that it only works very well here? Can Johnny's work elsewhere? Right? Can it be another Portillo's? Can it be another Long Beach? And really, that's who you're looking at for competitors, right? And you may throw in some other words too. You're like, well, they're big, they're franchised out. I'll look at those, and then maybe we'll also look at another one spot sort of beast place, right? Hey, you're right, that's the problem. Problem is, you max out this location, unit location. So maybe my research is entailing advertising a totally new location for Johnny's. That could be your plan, right? Or you're like, hey, that's not my plan. We're gonna focus, we're gonna stay here. We're gonna do a little research and promote either menu changes, rearrangement of that location, something, right? But okay, it's not about spreading out too far with other retail locations, more so about this location and changing. It needs to be changed. Could keep it simple. That's up to you. And then we say, hey, informal research, internal secondary data, external secondary data. Internal is like, hey, can I see the accounting, right? How many sales, how many units did you push? External secondary data, like, hey, what's the market in this area? Let's see the demographics, okay? These two universities in this neighborhood, these are the income levels, the demographics. And then you say, what is your objective, right? And then, which method are you gonna use? Pick one. Some people use mixed methods, but, you know, for the purposes of this class, I think that's however you wanna go about it, right? But some people pick qualitative, right? I need to know the opinions of people, I need to know the mindset. Or quantitative, I need hard facts, hard numbers about the market, right, about people's desires. And then you interpret and report the findings, right? So you need good analysis, needs to make sense, should be kind of simply understood by others. If you can't communicate it effectively, then, you know, that's a problem, right? So whatever you analyze, and whatever methods you use to analyze and report, try to consider you're speaking to maybe an ad company, shareholders, stakeholders, Johnny's owners or something, right? Consider it, make it simple. Most marketing departments have an MIS system, which is basically just a database, programs that keep customer information, sales, all sorts of information relevant to help them do research, right? And then we said primary and secondary, right? We say secondary is like, hey, I'm gonna go get government data off the census website. That's secondary. It's already out there. It's available. Primary is like, I'm gonna conduct my own surveys. I'm gonna create a survey and host a focus group. It's gonna be my primary data. Research objectives should be concise, right? The research problem should have objectives formulated at the beginning of the research project, so you can kind of follow these steps. And then we said qualitative, general impressions of the market, consumer product, quantitative, hard numbers about specific situations. Table and graph should be explained in words, right? It should be able to be understood by any, right? Any kind of layperson, not some expert on numbers. Avoid technical jargon, right? State the problem and objectives, summarize the findings, and draw attention to important conclusions. It's good to always have like 3 main takeaways as a conclusion. Sometimes even less, right? Have takeaways, like, okay, I've done all this research, what was the 2 main things that you learned, that you gathered from it? And then we got projective techniques, use indirect questioning, right? In intensive techniques, use carefully planned questioning. If you are drafting a survey or hosting a focus group, how would you construct your questions based on what it is you're trying to figure out? Are you just trying to gauge general opinions about how people feel about whatever it is you offer versus what others offer? Or are you trying to get really in-depth, intensive? Like, well, tell me more. What about the features and characteristics of this product do you like? What are the features and characteristics you most like? Right? So you have an in-depth interview, which is just kind of maybe one-on-one or even group. Right? Have an in-depth interview, and you could ask someone who buys the most. Let's say it's an individual customer, you've identified who they are, they've been here forever, they purchase a ton of stuff. So like, well, this is, out of all of our consumers, this is the person I feel like they would know the most about the experience and could express the most information. So we have an in-depth interview with them. It might be good enough, right? That might be good enough. Or we have a focus group, right? We say we're gonna get a bunch of different people, ethnic groups, gender, income levels, education levels, that usually buy from us, right? In some way, shape, or form, and we're gonna ask them, we're gonna moderate them, right? We're gonna give out maybe the product, hey, share it with everyone. What do you think? And we'll talk amongst each other about what we think about the product, right? And essentially kind of moderate it. You gotta be sensitive to make sure you're not trying to force answers, right? Because once again, so it's biased, it's not real information. So it's really good to allow them to talk with each other. You get more authentic, truthful answers. Here's an example, well, a representation of what focus groups look like, right? We say, hey, it's better in circular form than say maybe a square, or a triangle, right? Because here, everyone can kind of see each other. Very good. This allows for better flow of conversation. Everyone feels personalized in some way. Usually give them name tags. And so we gotta use all the tricks of the trade to make people feel important so that they give off more information. So we say it's intensive, right? Evaluate effectiveness. Various elements of the sponsor's campaign focus groups are especially effective when used in conjunction with market surveys. So they're used with surveys. But here we say this is intensive because we might hear some conversations amongst everyone, and we take notes, we're recording it, right? Probably recording it in some way. And we go back, we look at our notes, like, oh, well, they mentioned that, right? It was so unique about what they said about that thing, right? Something stood out, right? Or you can have observation. Researchers monitor activities in their native environment. So say you have recording devices and you have sort of either just a regular old shopper or a mystery shopper, right? Maybe someone you even hired to say, hey, go shop. I want you to shop and I want to observe you, right? What do you look for before you come to our product? Yeah, I saw you bought our product and then you went and bought these other products. Why did you do that? What was your behavior for doing that, right? Or we can simply leave someone alone in a room, put down an iPhone, a brand new iPhone, right? We can monitor all their activities. We're recording them on the phone, like say almost like a screen recording, right? And it's like, okay, you tap here, why do you go there? How many steps did that take? I think we need to improve that because they get confused about that, right? So we can observe them and monitor them in their native environment in some way, right? UPC labels have improved observation methods. What's a UPC label when you go shopping? What do you see? What is it? What kind of information do you think it has? So UPC is different from SKU. What's SKU? Who knows what SKU is? SKU. Right, so you're like, hey, I look at the back of a product, such as, what about this kind of junkies? Right? You're like, okay, cool. There goes the UPC. Right? A little different than the SKU. UPC is Universal Product Code, right? So it is regulated by governments here in the United States also, but they're part of a consortium, which means that there may be hundreds of countries in agreement to use a universal standard of product identification, right? Which is good. So like say, hey, identify who's the manufacturer, who created this product, what's the source of it, maybe some certifications, like, hey, food products with all type of chemicals. It's been certified, all in this little number, right? Like, so I know that for sure this is legit, right? It's legit, it's been registered, comes up in the system, right? You have to register and purchase a UPC, essentially from the government, right? So it's a way to kind of standardize, identifying the product, organizing things. Whereas a stock keeping unit, SKU, is a different kind of code, and it's just basically to show how many levels of stock you have, maybe in an organization or a manufacturing facility, for example. Right? But companies use and advertisers use observation methods, because now we can keep track, right? We can keep track to see how people behave just using that UPC level. And then we have experiments where we can measure cause and effect relationships, you know. If A happens, then B. If someone goes to buy our hot dogs, they go buy our buns, or they're not buying our buns, right? If A, then B, right? If they're gonna buy our hot dogs that we sell, the next thing they buy is this brand of ketchup. So what should we do? Well, we make hot dogs, we probably should make ketchup too. Make hot dogs and ketchup, we probably should make bread, buns, right? Cause and effect relationships. Survey, gain information on attitudes, opinions, and motivation. Here's the universal product code, right? Scan it, checkout counters, improves checkout time, right? Because it standardizes everything to scan it. It does work for inventory control too. Sometimes you don't have to use the SKU. And it provides a wealth of accessible data for use in measuring advertising response. All right, pre-testing methods. Pre-testing methods. Remember we say, hey, before we put something out, before we launch the product, we might do some research to really get some ideas how people feel, just so maybe we go back and change something. Maybe people didn't like the color, could we quickly tell the manufacturer to change the color? They didn't like the logo on it, we have to change that. It could be in advertising, right? So we ask them direct questions. What do you like about this ad? What do you dislike about this ad? Is this ad offensive? Is it too sexual? Is it too exotic? Is the ad confusing? Right? Direct. Yes or no? Yes or no? Central location test. We can do sort of testing right there at the spot that the location where the ad's gonna be at, or the promotion's gonna be at, right? It could be, say, a grocery store. It could be, say, near where you're gonna put a billboard or something of the sort. And then clutter test. Clutter is testing how saturated the market is in that area so that your message doesn't get lost, right? So you can test to see how cluttered is the space that we're gonna promote at in terms of no one's gonna notice this because there's too many people promoting the same exact stuff, right? So we need to do that too. Right? Because it's one thing to promote, you know, if there's not too many competitors with the same message as you have. Another thing, if everybody's kind of have the same stuff, consumers are confused and they just move on. Or they don't even notice yours because it's too much. Number say bias, challenge or pretesting. Respondents may give answers that they think they should like, such as the halo effect. Right, in psychology, we call the halo effect that you generally like things that are attractive. And all the data suggests that it's fundamentally a real thing. People who are physically attractive get less time for the same crimes. People who are physically attractive in appearance get the job over people who are less qualified. For some reason, we like beautiful things, and we usually attribute it as some sort of good. We think people who are attractive are good people, right? If they're pretty, they gotta be nice, they gotta be good, they can't be evil, right? Because in our mind, we think evil is ugly or something. Right, and also if we like the person too much, we generally won't give truthful answers. We're gonna have a bias, right? So we can see that too, even with presidential candidates. All of them, doesn't matter. Whoever you like, you're gonna support to the death, and you're never gonna talk about anything negative about them, even if there's a ton of negative stuff about them. You don't care, you're just gonna skip over it, right? So it's a real thing. So that's a challenge, people giving answers they think they should. Post-testing methods, which is what we're kind of really concerned about. Hey, how do things work? How could we know how things work, right? We said we gotta know how things work because people have to recall it with memory, right? Memory. Do you remember, right? So we have aided recall or unaided recall. They're just kind of simple questions. Hey, what are your favorite brands of shampoo? Write them down. And someone's like, oh, Jergens, Dove. Like, if you're a Dove company, if you're a research group doing research for Dove, right, they don't know. Let's say you're doing some sort of survey or focus group, and they don't know who you represent. Right? Dove hires some researchers to do research, and now they're asking all these questions, right, to try to see in your memory, how well does Dove memorize? How well can people recall Dove in terms of the shampoos or soaps, right? So you say, you can have unaided recall, which is kind of like, hey, what are your favorite shampoos? Aided recall will be asking questions that kind of allude more to the brand itself, right? What are the top 3 brands of shampoos or something, right? Kind of guiding them to talk more about your specific brand, right? So use little kind of tricks for that. Attitude test is simply that. Hey, how do you feel about a particular thing, right? Negative, positive, angry, hostile, loving, comfortable, right? You want to get some sort of perception of attitude. And then we have inquiry and sales test, right? Which is kind of just alluding to how consumers go about searching for your stuff after they see it, right? So you can maybe gauge that with Google searches or social media searches, right? Let's say you're on Facebook and a particular ad pops up. Do you go search for it after the fact, right? And so they can track that. They can track on your phone to be like, hey, we showed them this ad at this time, and 12 seconds later they went on Google to search more about that product, right? To see how much it really costs and reviews and all that stuff. So that's kind of an inquiry test, which is good. At least you know that, hey, people are aware, they're engaged with that ad. They went and searched, maybe they didn't buy, but they were curious, right? So we say recall tests reveal effectiveness of message components. It's all about memory, right? Recall, we're saying memory. It reveals how effective people memorize the message. If they don't remember it, then it's not effective. Like, oh, I don't know, right? Ineffective message. Let's see, there was a good ad right here. I'll see if I can pull up the commercial for it. I wish it was good. Let's see. Okay, so anyone familiar with Cannes Film Festival? Right, Cannes Film Festival, just familiar, you've heard, right? So also in Cannes, in France, southern France, they have the Cannes International Advertising, right? Which are basically the best ads from the year, right? So let's see if we could find one for that. So here, this one is pretty creative. Okay, this part talks about the challenges of international advertising, right? We say, hey, it's one thing to advertise domestically, we speak the same language, overall, we got the same culture, yet our subcultures. So we kind of have the same Western American culture perspectives overall, right? But one challenges of going abroad, we say culture is one of the strongest things about human life, right? It's very hard to change culture, right? It doesn't happen that easy. Language, like where's challenges? The message has to be translated in another language. Does it come off offensive now that we use the right verbiage, wording? The ad that works here in America that might be offensive in another country, or it could just be confusing, like I don't understand what that meant, right? So a lot of challenges when we talk about international advertising, right? But here's one that's pretty creative. So in Lebanon, Lebanese housewives takes great pride in clean washing, so much so that they even brag about laundry secrets and hang their laundry on balconies to be seen by neighbors, right, shown here. Bonux created the Housewives Moment of Fame campaign and bought space on the roofs of buses so that the ads could be seen from balconies. All right, so here they're advertising to these housewives, right, who love to hang out their laundry out the window to show how clean they can clean laundry, right? Very effective. Radio spots featured interviews with housewives riding the buses. The campaign raised awareness 85%, right? 85% just from putting it here instead of maybe somewhere else, billboards or things of that nature. This increased the market share by 20% and won a media line at the Cannes Advertising Festival. Right, so here was ingenious advertising in Lebanon, right? Just based on the culture of people hanging laundry outside their windows. let's see if we can pull up a Cannes Film Festival app. This is for Lufthansa, the aircraft.
What's her story?
Life's a real comedian, huh?
Feels like she's got somewhere important to be.
A real job interview?
Or an audition.
Of course. You think they know each other?
No, not yet. But they're about to.
It's all really complicated. Distance and all.
One of us has to make a choice.
What about them?
Maybe like their first big trip or something.
I don't know. I get the feeling it's something a bit more permanent than that.
What about? What about him? What's his story?
Ooh, a new chapter.
Buying me time to relax.
Or maybe the start of something more. And the guy with the backpack.
An explorer.
Probably met everyone.
Must be exhausting.
Did you see her at 12?
Yeah. They're in for fun.
Maybe they're taking a break from something.
The story of yes.
Meaning?
Well, every story starts with a yes.
So, do you want a part?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Do you even want to be this one?
Yeah.
Are you sharing right?
Yeah, I think there may be like a little section half by half.
So you're leaving tomorrow?
Yeah. I think it's time. You ready?
Yes.
What are your thoughts about Lufthansa? What was this story expressed in this ad? What did it convey to you? Right, when we say, hey, it's what you remember. That's all it costs. What do you recall? What stood out of your mind's eye, right? What was important? What was stimulating? Yes.
It was like like a few of the passengers they covered, like their seat number, and like sort of like a little story behind them, I guess. So that's kind of interesting.
All right, and you say, hey, each seat, right? Each seat has a story. The story of curiosity, you know? Two people sitting in a seat. Oh, where are they? What are they gonna do? What kind of experiences are they gonna have? What adventure awaits them? Anything else? Did you notice anything about all the numbers besides just seats? I didn't. But I think at first, I was thinking like, oh, what? Is that the seat number or is that something else, right? Like the number of days they spent at a place. well, you know, like, think of like 50K. I was saying like, okay, is that the kilometers that they travel? I think some of the numbers, like using a K, might not have been a good idea, because it's kilometers, right? Or it's KM, but some people could take it as kilometers. So I kind of felt like, oh, okay, they travel 55,000 miles or something. So I would say if I went back and talked to the advertiser and say, don't use a K, use something else. Right? Don't use an M, that's miles. I would get confused. Anything else? The differences in the storylines. What did you notice? What were the stories, rather? The themes, yes.
I think it was either